For watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. We have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our Mystery School.
And that's the beautiful thing that I've seen from it. And the Akashic Records, you know, we talk about the Akashic Records, and this is the collective storage house of all things that have happened here in human existence in the world of Maya. It also stores information from other places as well. So
I always like to say it's a record of the universe, past,
it is.
present, future, all knowing.
Yes.
It's where you can literally access anything and everything.
Yes.
Connected to the galaxy, even, I would
love
say.
that. Yes. Excellent. One of the things too that you explore in the upper world when you're doing journey work is the Akashic Records.
Yes.
And it shows up like this massive library. And I think the reason it shows up that way for us is because it's a way for us to understand its energy. Like you're saying, it's a place that stores all of the records of the universe, time, past, present, future. And it is a place where you could go every journey. There's so many different things that you can explore in the Akashic Records. But what I love to use the Akashic Records for is you can go there directly to understand the contracts. And when I say contracts or soul contracts, what we've discovered is when the soul is between lives and before it comes here into another human experience, there are agreements in your soul tribe that you make with one another. It's all part of the great awakening, and we call it lessons or whatever we want to learn, but really it's part of the great awakening. And it says, okay, I want you to be my mom or my dad or my lover or my husband or wife or sister, brother, friend, whatever it may be, right? And I'm going to have you come in at certain times in my life to trigger these growth lessons or these mini awakenings until I come into my awakening. And we're going to have these roles, and this is going to be a dynamic between us. There's like some things that are set for us to experience. Yes. And so I love going there because it's really helped me, and it's helped a lot of people that I've worked with to like gain some clarity on like, what are some of these agreements? Why are we challenged in this way in our relationship? And what were the things that we were trying to learn? Like, why were they placed there for us? And it's amazing because it's like once you're able to kind of gain clarity about why these things are happening, you're able to really absorb those lessons on such a deeper level, and you're less likely to repeat patterns that are unhealthy. It's like you're able to get to the diamonds quicker and cultivate that and retrieve those diamonds and move on in your awakening smoother and easier just with that awareness.
Yeah. I had a very sacred experience when we first went to the Akashic Records, and so of course I have mentioned many times how I was deeply wounded in religion and to the point where I was kind of like, why would God give someone the ability to connect to the other side and it be so shamed and so negatively looked at and so misunderstood? And it made me very angry at God. I'm not going to lie. I was very bitter about it all. And we went to the Akashic Records. And I wasn't necessarily sure what I was going to experience or what to expect. But we walked into this side room and there was like this scroll that I put into the wall. And for those who are like Harry Potter people, I don't know what spell this is, but it's where they're like able to create animations with their wands, and it's like they're real, but they're like light, or like they're not real, but it's real at the same time. And it was like I walked in this to the center of the room, and all of a sudden these images came to life, and they were like dancing around me. And it was when I was a child and I was playing hopscotch. And then I was looking at different places, but all of a sudden everything that stuck out to me was the sacred geometry of everything. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then it brought into this math and this analytical sacred geometry that, to me, I've always struggled with math. Schooling just wasn't my thing. I learned differently than what was spoken, so I always felt like I was stupid. I always felt like I was never smart enough to understand stuff. And it was like all of a sudden I was seeing all this, like, in regular day life. It was like weaving in these deep God-like universal truths that were just there. And I was like, "Well, this is so interesting." And I remember just watching as I got older, as I moved forward, it was all of a sudden I'm like to the other side of this space. And all of a sudden, just this white light was like, it just got brighter and brighter and brighter. And I was laying on the floor, and like my body was pulsing like more than I've ever experienced in my whole life. And I remember feeling like this is God. Like this is this higher power, this higher light. Like I've never felt so loved, so supported, so understood, so accepted. And it was so interesting because I wanted to put a label on this magnificent light. And I wanted to put this energy into a man's body of like this male god. And it was like I like heard this laughing, and then I was told, "No, don't label what this is. You don't have to label what this is to experience the love." And it was like I just laid there, and you didn't, because you brought me to the space and then you kind of just watched. You didn't participate, you weren't a part of anything. You let it be totally my experience, my healing journey. And finally at the end you're like, "Okay, we're going to kind of wrap up," and you do these things to bring you back out. And it was like I didn't want to go. And it was everything that I had read about people experiencing in near death experiences, people who have crossed over and come back, like all of these things. And it was like so fulfilling, but it was the brightest light I had ever experienced. But I couldn't put a physical label on what that love was. And of course, we know that's God's love. That's that universal truth. Like all of it is the same. We just word it differently. But because I was so wounded with the natural man of what we perceive God has to be, it was almost like I was shown that I could look at it in different ways and still have that amazing healing factor. And it was such a profound experience. I like went out of the room afterward and I just laid on the bed by my husband. And I'm like, "Curtis, I just met God." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "I just met God." And it was so different than I ever imagined, but it was so beautiful and so what I needed. And I still fall back on that all of the time. And
Mm.
knowing that we have that ability to connect into that space, it doesn't have to be one specific way. It was so like soul profound and soul changing. It was so beautiful.
So beautiful. Yeah, the Akashic Records is a space where people go when they leave their body. It's the place of life reviews. And so when
Mhm.
you're accessing these lives and these contracts, you're doing a life reviews. You're seeing things from a different perspective. And that's
Yeah.
it was so beautiful because what you experience is what a lot of people experience when they go into that room for their life review and they go to the light and they feel that energy, and it is indescribable.
Yeah. And
And our minds always want to. It always wants to come up with a name, a description. It's like, why don't
yeah.
you just allow it to be?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was amazing because I worked with another girl for a while, and I took her to the Akashic and I allowed her to experience whatever she needed to. And it was very similar, just in different ways for her. And it was so beautiful to just witness, but to just allow that to be her experience. And
Mhm.
then one time I was working with a male, and he was like, "Hey, I really am interested in learning more about the galactic family. Do you do anything with that?" Which we'll have to do a whole podcast on. Um,
Yes.
so I was like, "Well, I haven't done much with that, but I can definitely, give it a try." And I was brought to the Akashic, and it was like all of a sudden I was able to connect into past experiences with the galactic family that were very connected to him, relaying that message through the Akashic. And it's so interesting because then I sent him to another girl who does a lot of Akashic record readings. And he's met with her a couple of times. And the last time I met with him, he was talking about what she had said was very connected to what I had told him. She just gave more depth about it. And so, even knowing that, like, you can access that and receive, like, that's why I was saying it's like galactic and not even just universal. It's like this huge galactic records or accounts that we can connect into. And it's such a
Mhm.
beautiful tool to have when we use it the proper way, of course. There's light and dark in all things, there's boundaries in all things too, or whatever. But it's when you're
Right.
aligned with that true, soulful, pure intent, there's like endless possibilities.
Yeah, and when we do the tube of light meditation, when we align, when we set intention, you will get that result. If you set intention, say, this is what I'm going to connect with, I'm going to connect into the healing answers where these things are rooted. I'm ready. I'm ready to shift. I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to expand my awareness and consciousness. Then that is exactly what you will get. And a lot of people, they don't realize what they're capable of. And that's what I love about what we do, because we open these conversations to say, look, this is possible. I mean, these are
Yeah.
things that you can experience in this life. You don't have to wait to cross the veil, or you don't have to feel like you got to achieve a certain level of enlightenment. And that is, those are stories we tell ourselves to keep us asleep.
Yeah.
This is something that is available that you can experience in this life, that improves your well being, that improves the way that you experience your life. Because, look, I'm not interested. And we talked about this in the past. I'm a very practical mystic. I mean, if it's not going to make permanent change in your life in the sense of make it better or help you feel empowered, help you come into the fullness of what you're here to do, right? The fullness of yourself. I don't really see the point. To me, it's just a bunch of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of information that's going out right now because we are in the Aquarian age. There is a lot that we have to filter through to figure out, what is true information, what is not, what's not, what's rooted in fear, what's rooted in love. You have to get really clear about your boundaries and what you are choosing into. That's why discernment is so, so important, is because you're choosing into something. When I chose into this and the exploration of this, it was rooted in love, and it helped improve my life, like in a tangible way,
Mhm. It doesn't hold
and
you back or pull you from being present, and actually helps you become more present.
you do become more present and more at peace. You're not
Yes.
so caught up in these weird, the energies and the blocks and the things that you're not sure of. And even like, you think about how much energy you use in your life trying to understand relationships. Why does this person do this, and why do I feel this way? And we spend so much time in that mental energy. We're not even present in our bodies and
Yeah.
in the here and now, because we're just trying to figure out, why did they say that, and why did I feel this way, and why did, but and I just wish I could get to the root of understanding. And I have a very active mental body. I had to really keep my mind busy and structured. And what I found is that when I explored this, to be able to understand it, like it or not, right? But to be able to bring awareness and understanding, it was like I wrapped it up and I put it aside. And all of a sudden, I had so much more available energy to be here and to also focus on what I wanted to draw into my life,
Yeah.
because I wasn't so caught up in the why this and why that. So that was why I loved soul contracts and exploring the Akashic, because
Yeah.
it helped me. It's like I can get this, if I can bring awareness and understanding and retrieve that wisdom, then I can put that aside and it leaves more available space for all the prosperity and the abundance and the opportunities, and for me to focus on what it is that I'm drawing into the here and now,
Right.
instead of being up here.
Well, and it goes back to you saying that sometimes we make healing complicated when it's
Mhm.
not intended to be complicated.
No.
And that's how past life and Akashic Record should be too, is it's an exploration, but it's not the end all be all. And it's not something that we have to try to understand fully, because that holds us back from experiencing what the world has to offer and what we came here to experience. And so,
Exactly.
honestly, for people who are interested or who are listening, I would 100% set up an appointment with Candace. She does amazing soul
Or
contracts.
you, hun. Both of us can do this.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
You know, is setting up an appointment if you're interested in learning more about Akashic Records or Akashic Record readings or whatever that looks like, is
Our
to
past
understand
lives.
past lives. Yes, there's so much there. And you want to make sure you go to someone that you're comfortable with if you're not able to do it or you're not fully comfortable on your own. And so that's why I'm like, you got to go to Candace. But I'm happy to help too, is just because
Yeah.
I've seen so much healing. But because you helped me know how to do it, now I can do it for myself.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
and
the
I both
point.
are that way. Like we have no interest in saying, "Oh, you have to come to me in
Yes.
order for you to." It's like you come to me long enough for me to show you how to get there, and then you do it
Uh-huh.
on your own. I have no
Yes.
interest in having anybody be dependent on me, because, well, that would be ridiculous. We all have this power and wisdom inside of us.
Yes.
But a lot of people, they just are not sure how to do it, or they don't feel
Yeah.
confident in getting in that space. So I just love working with people long enough. It's like giving them the key and then say, now you got the key. Now you
Now
get to do
you
it
get to
on your own
experience
whenever
it.
you feel like you need to do it. It's a tool you get to use, and it's empowering for them.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I do too. I think that's why we work so well together too. Is our purpose is to help people find and utilize tools that work for them. And so of course we're going to talk about all kinds of different options, all kinds of different things, and
Yes.
some things may resonate with some people and some things may not, and that's totally fine. But it's like, well, how can we help you? And that's our goal, is like this podcast, is how can we help you open up tools or introduce you to concepts that you may be very intrigued by, like I was, but just don't know how to access it or what the point is or anything like that. And so of course we have, meditations, journey works. We'll be doing all different kinds of things, but it's to ultimately help you explore it for yourself and gain that knowledge to then be able to learn, because as we know, knowledge is power.
Yes, it
And
is.
we're here to just bring that power to help you remember to stay awake for who you truly are.
For watching Modern Sages, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. We have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.